Let's go. Let's go. What in the world is happening? Let's go. I'm so fired up. I voted. My girlfriend and my dog went to go vote today. I'm pretty excited about democracy. Dedicating this broadcast to all of the civil rights leaders that allowed me this opportunity to vote. Rest in peace, John Lewis. Today was great. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good. How are you? And I'm not a true patriot. I'm just a dude, okay? But this country is so great. I get to connect with all of you LSU football fans, whether you're in Covington or Gina or Ruston, or if you're in the Ukraine, or if you're in Russia, or if you're in Alaska, I don't care. So we say hi to Leandra, Cat Daddy Steve, Devin, Noel, Palmeris. Obviously, we have a huge broadcast lined up for you today. So Devin wants to talk recruiting. We're going to get to that a little bit later. I have no idea why he is concerned about LSU recruiting right now. When you just had a safety, a position of need, a kid that obviously wants to come here, commit, and Matthew Lengua. And yes, I am biased because the kid is from New Roads, Louisiana, and that is very important to me. All right? My whole mother's family is from New Roads, Louisiana. I consider it a hometown. That's where I spent my summers. My earliest recollections of my life were in New Roads, Louisiana. So I am happy about it. And I am very curious, Devin, why you are concerned with recruiting. Why did our lights just go out? What the heck? Wait, what happened? Let's see. And we have lights again. There we go. And I accidentally knocked it out of the plug because I'm fat. Let's see. Just got told from LSU Football News on IG that Sage, I didn't pay the bill. More than likely that, since we got big bills here. That Sage Ryan is likely going to go to Alabama. So, let him go. I just feel, and I didn't want to start recruiting because we got TJ Finley, we got Myles Brennan, we got Ed Orgeron. I'm very passionate about how Ed Orgeron is actually handling this quarterback situation. I would be handling it differently, but since Devin wants to talk recruiting, I cannot get over this simple truth, okay? You have to be rational about recruiting. Flip the break. So you have to be rational, okay? And what I mean by that, and I truly do mean this in my heart of hearts, okay? Now, Sage Ryan, for me, could be, or I'll say this. I hate it when an analyst say could be. Just say what you say, okay? He is, to me, the most important commit since, obviously, the secondary needs some serious depth, okay? And obviously, if he goes to Alabama, he is going to an SEC West rival. So that's the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario every time is if LSU loses a kid and they go to Alabama. The truth, though, is that there was a guy by the name of Patrick Surtain who went to Alabama. And there was a guy by the name of Ismail Sofshire that went to Alabama. And then there was a guy by the name of Dylan Moses that went to Alabama. And we're not talking about slouches. We're talking about top 50 recruits. Two of those guys actually panned out and became starters and are likely going to be first or second round picks next year. LSU is just fine. Now, if you start to lose too many guys to Alabama, let's say Sage Ryan and Brian Thomas Jr. and Mason Smith all go to Alabama, then it becomes a problem, okay? JaQuincy never coming to LSU. So he goes to Alabama, right? But the truth, and I really do mean this, and we say hi to Rob. Coach O has this under control when it comes to recruiting. Okay? So don't get carried away. Don't get carried away. All right? Don't focus too much on one kid. And we'll get back to recruiting. We always save that for the end. But this is my biggest problem, because obviously the biggest story is TJ Finley versus Myles Brennan. That's not the biggest story in the SEC right now. Obviously, the biggest story in the SEC is undoubtedly what's going on at Florida, with obviously what's going on with this country and all their breakouts and clusters. So obviously that is the number one story in the SEC. But to me, the biggest story with LSU is this quarterback situation. This would be the best course of action for Ed Orgeron. And this is how and here's the thing. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not at practice. For those that watched our video yesterday, and by the way, we had a bunch of super chats. There is a little $sign, okay? And if you're watching this on mobile, you can see under the super chat that you can hit that $sign and you can donate to me, which, by the way, I just started getting paid for my YouTube videos, and it's not a lot. I, in fact, made way more money on the super chat than I have all my other videos combined after the game. So if you super chat a question, that immediately becomes the topic. So if Austin wants to talk about recruiting, if he hits the $sign and donates something to me, I'm going to talk about that subject right then and there. All right? And it helps keep the light on. For those that just joined us, our lights went out. If you want to help pay the light bill, heck, right now I'm doing my broadcast in the laundry room. I have a full load going on right now. I don't know if you can hear the grinding in the background. That is what I'm living with. This is all I have right now, outside of course, comedy and a few other gigs, but this is my main thing. So I say this as a self-plug. Hit the $sign if there's anything you want to discuss LSU football or anything. It could be you want to discuss if chicken parm is actually better than, barbecue chicken, which it is. Hit that $sign. I'll immediately start talking what you want to talk about. So, first thing, the quarterback battle, which is what most of you want to talk about. I am a true believer that the South Carolina game is what my video on Monday was about. It was LSU's first true bye week. And by true bye week, LSU rarely has a situation where they get more rest than their opponent, because a majority of the teams have irregular bye weeks year to year. The only two teams that have had the same bye week in the SEC every single year has been LSU and Alabama since 2010. So they both play, or they both get a bye week before they play each other, right? So this was different against South Carolina because LSU had the opportunity to rest their players and have a week and a half to play a team that has inferior talent than you do. So if we're going to be honest about it, college football games don't exist in a vacuum. And you've heard me say that a few times. All right. And what I mean by that, when college football games don't exist in a vacuum, the week before matters. The week before who you play has a huge impact on the game that you play. And because LSU had a bye week, whereas South Carolina had to play Auburn, which they won, and it was very physical, that gives LSU a huge advantage. And I think the best course of action for quarterbacking is to let TJ Finley start again this Saturday. And the reason why you got to let it happen is because the locker room felt something different with TJ Finley at quarterback. The offense was better. That was the best offensive game that LSU had played all season, including Vanderbilt. And it's not because they put up 52 points, and technically they actually put up only 38 points. It's not because of that. It's not because of that. It's because the running game was going. It's because everything was going. Ty Davis-Price got going. John Emery Jr. got going. Everything was running smoothly. So if you go back to Myles Brennan right now, when he may or may not be fully healthy, that sends a wrong message to your team. Now, Liam Shanahan told the media today that Myles Brennan is our guy, and he is our quarterback. But I can tell you for a fact, from people I've spoken to, that TJ Finley won a good piece of the locker room. And by one, I mean specifically, there are some players who feel they are better off with him at quarterback. Even though Myles Brennan was good statistically in the first 3 weeks, some of the locker room feels as if TJ Finley gives them a better opportunity to win. Okay? So, because of that, you have to play TJ Finley again, simply because we don't know if he is the best course of action for this team. And you could actually kill two birds with one stone if you give TJ Finley the start on Saturday. The first is that you can know if he's actually a good quarterback. Was he really good against South Carolina? He was pretty good. I'll tell you this, he had no completions through the air for over 20 yards, meaning there was no completion that he threw that went over 20 air yards. The only pass that was connected over 20 yards was an interception. Myles Brennan, on the other hand, that is a pretty good indicator that Myles Brennan is a very good quarterback, because he has been better than basically anybody statistically in college football on connecting passes down the field past 20 yards. So that is my first sign of skepticism, leaning towards Myles Brennan over TJ Finley. And the second is what I just talked about. TJ Finley had a full week and a half. And yes, it wasn't clear that him or Max Johnson were going to be the starter until late, but the truth remains the same. Instead of either one of those true freshman quarterbacks starting on the road against Florida, both of them got a full week and a half to prepare for their opponent, which doesn't happen. In fact, it never happens at LSU. This is something, that game Saturday night was quite unprecedented. And if you watched my preview, that is why I ended up picking LSU to defeat South Carolina. It's a simple thing. If you have more time to prepare and time to rest, someone mentioned Ed Ingram just a minute ago. Guess what? Ed Ingram got healthy. And guess what? Ed Ingram was by far, and I really do mean this, by far the best player on the field on Saturday. He mowed people down. And because of that, he wouldn't have been able to do that against Florida because he wasn't fully healthy. So TJ Finley had a lot of things going his way. But what we haven't seen is how TJ Finley reacts to when things don't go his way. What we do know is Myles Brennan, when things aren't going his way, has performed at an extremely high level. Missouri, he got no help from his defense. Mississippi State, he got no help from his defense. And in that game in particular, Myles Brennan had multiple drops. But this is why, even though personally I'm still torn, the reason why you start TJ Finley is a couple of reasons. Number one, Auburn's offense is not good. In fact, Saturday will be the matchup of the two worst coordinator hires in the SEC. On one end, you have Bo Pelini and the struggling LSU defense. And on the other hand, you have Chad Morris, who is the worst SEC coach ever, period. He was the worst coach I've ever seen at Arkansas, and he was also the worst coordinator in the SEC offensively so far this year. So, what I would do, I believe the LSU defense is going to play well, simply because Auburn is not being coached that well right now. I think the LSU defense will be better. But the bigger thing is that you've got to see how TJ Finley reacts when everything is not moving in his favor. And here's the double-edged benefit of starting TJ Finley, is that, for one, you actually see if this guy is really good. Number two, you give Myles Brennan the opportunity to further rest his body, because there is no probable way, and trust me, I don't know the extent of his injury. There's no way that he is fully healthy right now. So we'll see. Now, we say hi to Jimbo. We say hi to Dexter. What's up, Goose Palmeris? Don't forget to hit that super chat if you want to donate to the live stream tonight. Go on ahead, hit that little $sign and throw some change into the cookie jar. Okay? So, let's go to what Coach O actually said. He said Myles Brennan is trending towards actually playing. So, we get our first super chat. Once again, if we have super chat, we go directly to their comment. This is from Noel for the light bill. LOL, no question. Just happy to support your channel. You do great work and appreciate all the knowledge you drop. Let's go. I appreciate that, Noel. And Noel's emoji game is on point. Thank you so much. And here's the key thing, okay? I got a few dog bills I got to pay too. My dog, Booger, is up there in age. Her kidney medicine is starting to get a little expensive, so I really appreciate that, Noel. And I really do mean this. This is the only thing I've got. This is the only income I'm making right now. A few other side gigs, so I really do appreciate that, Noel. So, Noel, if there's anything you want to talk about over this next 5 minutes, if you want to throw a subject out there, let me know. So, before we get to the defense, and obviously a lot of you have questions about the defense, I have a few strong opinions about what LSU's defense should do. Let's go on ahead and get your opinion. Let's say Myles Brennan is clear to play by not only Jack Marucci and Shelly Mullinax. So for those that don't know, Jack Marucci is the head athletic trainer for LSU. He's also the Marucci Bat Company. Okay, so he's a very successful guy, very smart, bright guy. So let's say Jack Marucci clears Myles Brennan along with Shelly Mullinax, who's over nutrition. And on top of that, Tommy Moffitt, who is the strength and conditioning coach. Let's say they say Myles Brennan is ready to go. Who do you believe should start on Saturday? Type M for Myles Brennan. Type T for TJ Finley. Okay? Right now, I want to get a very scientific poll right here. Type M for Myles. Type T for TJ. Mike. Hey, what's up, Mike? Did you just hop in? TJ, LSU fan, TJ, Rob, TJ, Joel, I like your answer. Noel says TJ. Noel just gave me $10, so I'm going to lean towards Noel. If he's healthy, Jimbo believes Myles Brennan. So, let's see. Chris says Sage Ryan to Bama. Did that just happen? Did that just break? I don't know. Let me check. Let me text my dude in the building. I'm kidding. He says he'll be committing on Halloween. But what if he goes to Bama? We'll get to recruiting a little bit later, okay? I want to see him with an established running game, okay? So, let's discuss the running game, all right? Now, here's the problem with saying, well, Myles needs a running game. The only problem with that, and I feel as if I do need to explain this every time, all right? And I've actually spoken to a few people who run offense, not only at the college level, but at the high school level. And a lot of offenses run the offense that LSU's running now, okay? They run hurry up. They like to keep the same personnel on the field to not allow the defense to substitute. So the difference is exactly what my dude Jimbo just said, okay? The RPO game opens up with our boy TJ Finley. And the reason why is because, well, number one, according to SEC StatCat, LSU ran 25% of the time RPOs with TJ Finley. So 1 out of every 4 plays, TJ Finley ran RPO, okay? And for those that don't know, RPO is a run-pass option where the quarterback, right after the snap, reads the linebackers and the safeties, and he makes a decision to either throw it or hand it off to the running back. That's the basic term. Now, obviously, it's more complex than that. So, you do get RPO game, all right? Now, for reference, Myles Brennan has run RPOs 9% of the time, and Joe Burrow, while we view him as an RPO quarterback, LSU actually only ran Joe Burrow RPOs 8% of the time. But Joe Burrow was able to have the zone read game because he can run. We say hi to, what's up to Judah? We already say hi to Luke. Luke, it is kind of crazy. The season's already half over. I was looking at the schedule and I was like, really? Really? Like, the season's already over. So Judah says it's Myles, it's TJ's time. So here's the problem. Is obviously with Myles Brennan, the RPO game, you can't really run it, right? Wrong. You can still run RPO with an immobile quarterback, but RPOs aren't the issue. It's simple running plays, okay? Now, we're going to have a physics discussion here. We said to Kevin, my high school quarterback. What's up, KG? This is key, all right? And Kevin could explain this. He played quarterback. It is important to have a threat to run at quarterback if you're going to run out of shotgun. Now, the read option game, as Cliff just pointed out, read option, zone read, or whatever, you have to think of physics, okay? Now, if you're running the football from under center, which LSU actually did with TJ Finley, when you snap the ball under center and you hand the football off to a running back, the running back has downwards momentum going towards a line of scrimmage. And it's an easier connection. The running back is able to get it with momentum moving forward. You do not get that same momentum if you're out of shotgun, because the quarterback gets the football and then has to hand it off, And basically, the running back has to start running from a standstill. So why is it important for Myles Brennan to be able to run for that to happen? Well, it's simple. If the defensive ends know that the quarterback can't actually run the ball, guess what? Whenever the quarterback hands a football off to the running back, the defensive ends can just crash down, thus causing a lot of congestion in the running game. And that's the basic truth. If you go back and actually watch the film of the LSU South Carolina game, while TJ Finley is not Michael Vick and he's not Tim Tebow, he's still a capable runner. Joe Burrow was an incredible runner. Statistically, it doesn't really show it, but if you actually go watch, he is pretty freaking incredible. So because of that, well, you have to be smart. And if Myles Brennan is on the field, not only does it affect your running game, it also affects your passing game. Now, why does it affect your passing game? Well, it's simple, right? Defensive ends don't have to worry about you scrambling. So when we did Myles Brennan's film study against Vanderbilt, right? For those of you that watched it, I showed you how Myles Brennan learned how to step up in the pocket on the very first drive of the game. He did a lot of work with Russ Callaway, who's an offensive analyst who came over from Richmond, I believe, and they worked on that, him stepping up in the pocket and semi-running. But with TJ Finley, because he is just a little bit more mobile, it helps out your offensive line as well. Because if a defensive line has to worry about the quarterback's ability to run, they aren't as capable of attacking downfield. It's simple. And Luke makes a good point. If we had any type of defense, we would be 4-0. And I would agree with that. I would. TJ doesn't hesitate like Myles does. You know, here's the problem with saying that. And I do agree with that, Tony. TJ did look pretty decisive with the football, but it is just one game. And the running game got going. And they had a week and a half to prepare. I cannot say this enough. It is so rare for LSU to have more time to prepare for an opponent ever. It in fact hasn't happened. So let's be honest. We have to see TJ Finley start another game where he's not at home, where it's not a night game, where the running game might get stuffed early. Because here's the thing, and we've seen it with even some of the best quarterbacks. We've seen Lamar Jackson struggle with this. We've seen, Ryan Tannehill, whoever. Some quarterbacks need to play with the lead. The one thing I know about Myles Brennan is that even when the defense is sucking, even when the running game's not going, he could still move the football up and down the field. So this is why I believe Ed Orgeron should start TJ Finley, because if he's able to shred Auburn, we have what's called a sample size. And when you have sample size, albeit just 2 games, those are 2 completely different games. That's 1 game at home and 1 game on the road against a better opposition with equal time to prepare. And then that gives you a better idea going into the bye week. Now, let's say Myles Brennan isn't completely healthy, okay? But you throw him out there anyway against Auburn, all right? And let's say Myles Brennan struggles against Auburn. Now, you go into this bye week not really knowing how either one of them's going to do. So, I just feel as if TJ should be the guy going into Auburn because there's just too many positives. Number one, you get a better idea of who he is as a quarterback. Number two, You see how the team reacts on the road with the new quarterback. And number 3, you get Myles Brennan even more healthy. And DRC makes a good point here. Don't forget that we had a great game with Brandon Harrison. He was awful the very next start versus Auburn, and I do remember that. And Luke says, I want to see more of Mac Johnson too, just to see what we have next year. I would like, and that's the sucky thing about this. You don't get to see everybody. You know, college football, you only have a few games. You don't really know. So now we've had one super chatter. I really appreciate that, Noel. Let's see. If TJ goes on the Plains and beats Auburn, we have a quarterback issue. Exactly. But if you don't play him, you don't know. And the thing is, if Myles Brennan comes back and he does get his job back, and let's say he goes out there and struggles, then you're putting TJ out there in a bad spot. We say hi to Jason. Welcome. What's up, Kevin? Versus he says, Carter, I hope we don't make the same mistake Georgia did with Fields. Yeah, that's always a concern. All right. Now, that was a little bit different because as much as I love TJ Finley, he's not on the level of Justin Fields. And that's not a shot at TJ Finley. Justin Fields is, last year, any other year, he probably wins a Heisman. Those stats probably win the Heisman over Mariota. Fields' stats probably wins the Heisman over Winston. He wins a Heisman over Henry. He wins a Heisman over... Anyway, it's a different story. The truth remains the same, is that Myles Brennan and TJ Finley, they're not on that level of Justin Fields. Well, yeah, not Cam, but still. Thank you so much, Judah, for the super chat. So, Judah, any topic you want to talk about, we'll get right to it. Judah, let's talk at the LSU defense. Thank you so much, Judah, for your contribution. So let's talk about the LSU defense. This actually is a good matchup for them. I really do believe this is a good matchup for them. And I say that because Chad Morris is Auburn's offensive coordinator, and I mentioned this earlier. This game should be titled the Battle of WTF Coordinator Hires, okay? And Judah's question is a very simple one. Do you see the defense improving moving forward? So the first thing I'll say, and if you follow me on Twitter, you saw this before the live stream, I'm actually going to move this over because I'm actually pretty excited. I voted today. Once again, I'm dedicating this live stream to the great John Lewis, who passed away. He's always been, one of my favorite, people growing up. What he did, with MLK. It's crazy that man. I don't think we celebrated John Lewis enough. But anyway, I don't want to make it about that. But please go out and vote if that's what you want to do. If you don't vote, that's your life. You can do whatever you want. Anyway, the defense. First thing, Pro Football Focus. I sometimes like what they say. I sometimes don't like what Pro Football Focus says. Tonight, I saw something, and I wonder if you guys saw this. And if you go to my Twitter account, you can see it as well. Pro Football Focus has Cordell Flott rated as the second best cornerback in college football, period. Okay? Let me repeat that. Cordell Flott is a higher rated corner, according to Pro Football Focus, over Elias Ricks and over Derek Stingley Jr., who them combined allowed 0 completions, where Cordell Flott, I saw, got beat badly a few times this year. So now I'll tell you this. I hope Cordell Flott plays better than those guys going forward. But I don't know if I know of an LSU defensive player playing better than Elias Ricks right now. This, to me, is the most alarming thing about the defense. Okay. LSU leads the SEC in sacks. LSU has constantly put pressure on the quarterback. Elias Ricks has been very, very, very good. Derek Stingley Jr., outside of the Missouri game where he got hurt, has been very, very good. So the problem is stopping the run, right? And giving up wide open passes downfield. And third down defense. And communication. So you notice the list goes on, and all of these problems exist while LSU is getting good pass rush. B.J. Ojulari looks to be a transcendent, all-time great LSU player already. In fact, he's already putting together one of the best pass rushing seasons we've ever seen. Definitely one of the best true freshman pass rushing seasons. So, it's a problem. That, to me, is the alarming thing. So, why don't you blame the players? Well, obviously, the players do deserve a lot of the blame. Some people believe that Jacoby Stevens should be a linebacker. Some people believe that Micah Baskerville should be playing over Clark. Some people believe you should go on ahead and hand the keys to the true freshmen, Sampa and White. Why in the hell is Devonta Lee not given an opportunity? So, let me ask this question. All right. And I've asked it before on prior live streams. Do you believe the problem is coaching or personnel? Type C for coaching, type P for personnel. Or if you think it's a little bit of both, give me C and a percentage or P and a percentage. Okay. So if you think it's 80% coaching, say 80% coaching. Some of you say both, okay? And I actually agree with DRC. He believes it's 70% coaching, 30% personnel. This, to me, is a big problem, all right? And I think most of you agree it's 70-30. So when I played in high school, all right, I wasn't a great athlete. Okay. For me to play on the field, I had to be a pass rushing defensive tackle and, a scrapper at defensive end. I played at the highest level you could play in Arkansas. So I went up against guys that were way bigger than I was. But the one thing I was always told is don't lose contain and don't lose responsibility. And if you actually go watch LSU's defense execute, I really do mean this. It's pretty basic stuff that they are failing to do. LSU's defense over the years is able to get away with things because they have better athletes. When you have Devin White covers up a lot of holes your defense might have. Luke says something interesting. 20 on personnel, 40 on Coach O, 40 on Coach Bo. Some of this does go on Orgeron, too. You've got to learn how to keep contain. And against South Carolina, a lot of the problems were runs right off the edge, whether it's a jet sweep, whether it's just bouncing to the edge. And the problem is that this is basic stuff. This is stuff you learn in high school. If you had the outside responsibility, it is your responsibility to not let guys go untouched up the sidelines. And the outside contain is absolutely, positively, diametrically awful. And DRC makes a good point. You're getting turnovers. you're forcing plays to be made. The LSU defense under Ed Orgeron has become a more attacking style defense. But attacking should not be substituted for smart. I'll tell you this. The LSU defense last year, they weren't the sharpest defense ever, but on a per-play efficiency, they were still the same as they were in years before. Something else about the LSU defense is that they were actually pretty fundamentally sound. Like, for instance, Rashard Lawrence wasn't a special talent, but he did his job. So that's bottom line. You've got to be smart, and I appreciate that, Jimbo. I really do. Linebackers are not hitting the gap. Joel says Damon Clark is constantly filling the wrong gaps. Well, I'll tell you this. Ali Gay has not done the best job against the run when it comes to keeping contained. And I'll also tell you this. In a 4-3 defense, normally, more often than not, contained responsibilities falls on the defensive ends. Now, according to your eyes, it looks as if Damon Clark is the one that's constantly out of his gap. Well, that's not necessarily true. Just because he's the one oftentimes running down the tackler doesn't mean he's the one who blew his assignment. But the truth is, Clark and Cox have not been that good. I also believe Jabril Cox has been meh. You know, we've had him promoted towards us for quite some time. Damon Clark, I don't know. Also, Jaquelin Roy is going through some growing pains. Wasn't his best game against South Carolina. So, I'm not going to lie. I underestimated the loss of Tyler Shelvin. Even though he doesn't necessarily fit a 4-3, he is better than what LSU currently has. Also, and this happens very often with players, Glenn Logan has regressed. He's not as good as he was last year. He's not played well. It's just simple. He's not. And that's not a shot at him. Whenever I talk about players, I'm never shooting at them personally. Heck, these guys aren't getting millions of dollars to play the sport. They're out there trying their hardest. But the truth is, there has been some regression with Glenn Logan. Clark has not been as good. And let's be honest, the keys to the entire defense was given to Jacoby 7. He is Jacoby 7. Jacoby Stevens. And I saw him tweet out the other day that he was agitated, that fans were talking, and he said, "You're not in the locker room, or you're not in the huddle." And for him to tweet that out, that's very unlike him. He's normally a very quiet guy. And trust me, if I were him and he heard people on the outside criticizing the defense, it can get a little old if people poke and prod you. Hell, you've seen Kevin Durant on live streams say the same thing, or not live streams, but on Twitter, get perturbed by people on the outside. But let's be honest. Jacoby Stevens is the leader of this defense. Jacoby Stevens was the leader of the locker room when they went through rough times. Jacoby Stevens was, for most of last year, LSU's best defensive player. 3-time SEC Defensive Player of the Week last year. He was incredible against Mississippi State. Ultimately, as the elder statesman, as the person who's more experienced, a lot of this falls on him too. And I love Jacoby Stevens. I felt he was robbed when Grant Delpit was given the award of the best defensive back in all college football, when Grant Delpit was the 4th best player in the LSU secondary last year. And I believe Jacoby Stevens can play in the NFL. Could he be better at linebacker? Possibly. I don't know that. Is Jacoby Stevens playing with not so great safeties this year? Absolutely. As inconsistent as Grant Delpit might have been last year, Todd Harris and Mo Hampton are a clear step down. But the truth remains the same. Outside of the Mississippi State game, Jacoby Stevens has not been dominant. And, we expected him to be dominant. And he knows this. If he was sitting right here, I'd tell it to his face. I love the dude. 5-star out of Tennessee. He's put everything, his heart and soul. He works hard off the field. He does a lot of nonprofit work. Heck, I love him personally. But I would tell him, if he was sitting right here next to me, NFL teams want to see how you respond. NFL teams want to see you fix the problem. A lot of the assignments may not be on him. I would highly doubt that they were. But with everything going up against you, you're the one that's going to have to step it up and fix this issue. The 4-3 is hurting. It's like having 4 outfielders versus 3 outfielders. Players are having trouble adjusting. It's true, but it shouldn't take 4 games. It should not take 4 games. And I get this question a lot from a lot of you. Well, would the LSU defense be better if they had a full offseason learning both system? And the answer to that is pretty simple. No, they wouldn't be any better. Because I could go up to Arkansas, that also just got a new defensive coordinator. They've been the best defense in the SEC, and it's not even close. They have been that much better. Now, they were very experienced. They returned a lot of good guys back from last year. They've had a few walk-ons play miraculously, but does Arkansas have better athletes on defense than LSU? No. Should LSU's defense look light years behind Arkansas's? Hell no. So this should be fixed by now. We shouldn't be sitting here saying, what are we going to do? I need to go down there and set them straight. I've said this from the get-go, all right? And I don't know if LSU's done this already. They're not going to listen to me. I'm just some dude, okay? Now, I'm very passionate. If LSU called me up right now and said, hey, we need you to strap up and run out there, I'm a graduate. I got 4 years of eligibility. I'm going to go out there and work my tail off. I'll tell you this, I'm not going to lose contain if they ask me to keep contain. I know to not get beat to the outside, which is what the LSU defense is doing consistently. It's just the missing assignments. And I don't know if it's coaching or the players. We'll see. So, like King Ulysses says, LSU runs a lot of nickel. So it's more of a 4-2-5. And, there's some benefits to being in nickel more than you are 4-3. So maybe LSU would be better served to do this. So I'm going to throw this idea out there with the defense, okay? Because it seems as if this is what you guys are really passionate about. We've had far more discussion about this, and it could just be that more people have joined, but let me throw this out there, okay? Would you like to see the LSU defensive personnel move to a 4-3, but the third linebacker be Jacoby Stevens, and the 2 safeties you're playing are Todd Harris and Mo Hampton? Would you like to see that? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Would you like to see that? Because some of you have sent that to me. Move Jacoby Stevens to the outside linebacker position, and then have Mo Hampton and Todd Harris start. With Ika and Logan at DT. I'm telling you, Glenn Logan has just not looked good. I'm very surprised by that. And I know he sat out the first 2 games, but legit, he just doesn't look like he did last year. And he was a pretty good player last year. He wasn't spectacular, but the Missouri game was bad. South Carolina was a little bit better, but still. So Chris makes a good point here. Is Todd Harris ready to play? And here's something else. They played Cameron Lewis some, Is Cameron Lewis a better option than Todd Harris? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll tell you this. I would have sure as hell loved to seen Eric Monroe, but he transferred. And he was a former 5-star. He was a top 50 player, but he just could never play because, well, he was behind Grant Delpit. So a lot of you say no Cam Lewis. Cam can cover better. Maybe so. So, maybe LSU should have done more to try and keep Eric Monroe around because I don't know how he's doing. Didn't he transfer to Texas Tech? I do like Jordan Tolles. He went to Texas Tech? Okay. So, Versus He makes up a good point, and Versus He is watching all the way from New Delhi. I like that, man. Good to have fans from all over the globe. So and Judah makes a good point here. So if Todd Harris and Mo Hampton can't figure out the defense, who says a true freshman can figure out a complicated position like safety? Remember, it's hard to play safety. It's not an easy position. The transfers are hurting bad, Kyle. Because I'll tell you this, Eric Monroe might not have been that good, but he simply cannot be much worse than what we've seen now out of the safety position. And it's weird to say that because, this is a first year where the safety position hasn't been that good. They just haven't been that good. I can't remember a year where LSU had bad safety play. Like, can someone think of a year where, heck, I don't know. I can't. What do you do with safety? I don't know. Anyone at safety coaching. Also keep this in mind. I brought this up on the Monday Night Football broadcast last night with John Johnson, who's a really good safety for the Rams. Safeties make a lot of calls now because there's so much pre-snap motion. Safeties have to make the calls. You're right. Eric Reed, Jamal Adams, Grant Delpit. Even before that, you had Brandon Taylor, Craig Lawson. Craig Lawson was a good player. He never became a 5-star, but he was a pretty good player. Derek Bryant was a backup. I thought he was good. I thought he could have been good on anywhere. So now Cliff decided to make things a little spicy. The safety play has declined since the Bill Busch hiring. Y'all know the little emoji? If one of y'all could type this emoji in, I don't want to go that far. It could just be, I am really shocked that Mo Hampton is not elite. I just whiffed on him. Just whiffed. Thank you, Ulysses. That I don't know. Like I said, I'm not in practice. Okay? I have sources in the building. We don't necessarily talk coaching because, well, I can't get into that. But, it's one of those things. Not too late for Mo to choose. But I still think Mo Hampton could be a very good safety. I really do. I'm not going to back down from that. I will die on this hill. Who are your sources? So, a little backstory, okay? Because, I'm not afraid to get personal on here. So, I went to LSU, and the first year I was at LSU was in 2006, 2007 and 08. So, my first year at LSU I was a student, and I just was a student. I wasn't involved with student media. That was the Glenn Dorsey National Championship team. So then in 2008, I got involved in student media. And from there, I've been developing sources in the building since then. There's still people that were around then. In fact, some of the people that I know there have actually joined way after I left. So, you know, I still believe I still believe the intel I get. And, you know, a lot of them told me before the year, watch out for Mo Hampton. And they weren't sugarcoating it, because a lot of coaches will, whenever they speak to the media, they'll sugarcoat. And I was told on good authority that Mo Hampton was going to be the guy where we'll be like, whoa, which makes sense. You know, LSU never has bad safety play. Jamal Adams is your favorite? Yeah. Jamal Adams. They also, Marcel Brooks plays safety. You know, is he athletic enough to do that? You know, to go from pass rusher to safety? You know, Marcel Brooks was a freak. It wouldn't shock me. Joel, that's a good point. You know, but you say that, though, but heck, Christian Fulton was great, but Elias Ricks and Derek Stingley Jr. are still playing great. Chad Jones, no doubt. If I were ranking the LSU safeties in the championship era, I'm going Jack Hunt number one. Kidding. But Jack was good too. That's the thing. Legit, I would have to go back and look and see the last year we've seen the safeties not play this good. You're a Craig Lawson fan? I love Craig Lawson. After a game, Craig Lawson came up to me and handed me one of his wristbands. Just because I knew him. I lived in the same apartment complex. He was a really interesting guy. Danny McCray. Danny freaking McCray. Now that's a name right there. Craig Stelz. Yeah, he was underrated. He was a good player. LaRon Landry. How have we been talking LSU safeties, and this is the first time someone's mentioned LaRon Landry? I'm disappointed in you guys. I'm so disappointed that the only way you can make up for it is I get 3 $20 super chats right now. Luke, you should never forget about LaRon Landry. I better get 3 $20 super chats. Honey Badger wasn't a safety, but he is one now. He could be. He could play every position. But anyway, so we spend so much. That's what I love about you guys, though, is that you guys are diehard LSU safety fans. Honey Badger was whatever you wanted to be. You're right, DRC. So, before we get out of here, because my girlfriend gets mad when we go long. She doesn't mind the post games on Saturday, but, you know, we always got to do this. Let me know where you're watching from. I know Cliff's in Houston. Let's see, Leandra, where are you? Leandra, where you watching from? I know Brent. What's up, man? There's actually a guy named Brent Torres who just bought some cards from me. Valenti is finally here. About time, Valenti. The 504 is in the building. San Antonio, DC, still in the Atlanta Metro. I always like to ask this just so you guys could see where the Tiger Nation's from. Clyde, we need to go hang out. I'm not far from Texarkana. Turkey Leg Hut. King Ulysses, is it snowing in Denver for real? No, Brooklyn. Man, no, if I'd moved to New York, we'd be hanging out right now. Lafayette, Louisiana. Hunts, Vegas. It's really snowing in Denver right now? Holy crap. Let me see. I want to show you all this card, and I showed it in one of the videos not too long ago. I feel bad Odell got hurt. Look at that. The Sistine Chapel, Odell. Maryland is for crabs. Leandra, you're in Arizona. That's right. Zachary, Shreveport. I got to shout out crap, what is the restaurant I like in Shreveport, okay? When I'm in Shreveport, I normally go to Rotolo's. There's a place called Pizza Rev there that I like. How much are my cards worth? They're not worth a lot. This is worth a lot to us, but you can actually get this card. I bought this one for $2. And with shipping, it was like $5. I also want to show you this one I just got. And I'm not really a huge LSU basketball guy, especially now. But I got this autoed. It's a K-Step. Let me see. So I got this Jordan Mickey Jarrell Martin auto card. I pulled it. This is the first time I've actually taken this out. How many of you are LSU basketball fans? Look at that. That's cool. I love Jarrell Martin. I thought he was very good. And Jordan Mickey. I don't even know if Mickey's still with the Celtics, if anyone could tell me that. Need a big baby card. Big baby. All right. So Devin says, hey, dude. Devin said, are we going to talk recruiting? Devin has been waiting a full hour to talk recruiting, even though we'll go one time, Black Goatee. I'll let you know next time I'm in town, man. Follow me on Twitter. I'll treat you. Or you could treat me. Either way. I'm down for whatever. They have cauliflower crust. That is a big deal to me. Anyway. Mick says the new LSU recruit is a real deal. So Matthew Lengua. Chris Carrier? Really? You're not going to LSU safeties and you're talking about. And here's what's funny. During that LSU safety nostalgia session, none of you, not a single one of you, mentioned the safety. Come on, the safety we see nearly every day. Okay? Not a single one of you mentioned the safety that if you turn the TV on, you're going to see him. I'm still waiting on someone to mention his name. None of you mentioned his name. Thank you, Luke. Ryan freaking Clark. Thank you. None of you mentioned Ryan Clark. What year did Carrier play at LSU? Well, I would say Jamal Adams is the best safety to ever play at LSU. I think I feel pretty comfortable saying that. I would say that. Late 80s. So, Devin wants to talk recruiting. Once again, if you hit the super chat button and donate just a little, we'll talk whatever you want to talk about. I remember someone made a $20 donation, our friend Yusha in Ukraine. I like Craig Lawson, too. I like that. So Yusha in Ukraine made a $20 donation and made me talk country music. I was a country DJ for 5 years. I will not do that tonight because I never really loved the music. It's okay. How good was Ryan Clark at LSU? I honestly don't know. I don't know how good he was. But I'm just saying. Okay, so Devin hit the sticker and the $5. So we're going directly into recruiting. So, Matthew Lengua, all right, initial viewing of his tape, okay? Now, let me be honest. I'm super biased about him because he's from New Roads, okay? Patrick Peterson never played safety. He could, but he just never did. So, Matthew Lengua out of New Roads, Louisiana. It's where my entire family's from. My mother's side is from New Roads. But the truth is that Matthew Lengua, when I watch him initially, it's kind of hard to study his tape because when you play at such a small school, and it's ironically, that's weird. Tommy Casanova. We never mentioned Tommy, and his number's freaking retired. Okay, he's one of 2 Tigers that has his number retired. And we're going to get to the Beck guy who also got an offer. We're going to get to him in just a moment. So I found this very interesting, right? We talked about Craig Stouts a little bit earlier. But Matthew Lengua plays at a small high school. So New Roads is a small town, about 45 minutes away from Baton Rouge. And they not only don't throw the football, they run the triple option. And they run a lot of counters. So when you play on a small school like that, most of your responsibility is on offense. That's where most of your energy is expanded, okay? The problem with that is that you don't really get a good look at him at safety because a lot of schools run that in the New Roads. And no need to apologize, Black Coatee. But a lot of schools run that triple option stuff. I don't really see him as a safety. I see him as a Jacoby Stevens type of player. I see him as I would like to see him converted to outside linebacker. But I do like him a lot. I really do, and I have from day one. And I don't think he is an immediate contributor. And I also don't believe he's on the same stratosphere as Sage Ryan. I just don't. I think Sage Ryan is a special talent. I really do. He really pops off the page, not only with the 4.5 speed, not only his football genes, not only him being related to Kev Falk, but the simple truth is that I see him as a linebacker. That's how I see him. Could he play safety? Absolutely. But that's a good thing about Matthew, is that he is an incredible athlete. How good? We'll have to wait and see until he gets to LSU. But I just don't think people understand that some positions you can play right away and be effective. Pass rusher, defensive end, you can be effective because, the objective is pretty much the same throughout your whole career. The same thing is true as a traditional corner. But at safety, there's a lot of different things you have to do. And that's why you see a guys like so far this year, BJ Ojolari and Elias Ricks have been the best true freshmen. But, and, I brought this up in the last video, Arik Gilbert had his best game against South Carolina. Now, a lot of you will say, well, no, his best game was against Missouri. And statistically, his best game was against Missouri. Hell, he caught 4 passes against Vanderbilt. But you know the one thing Arik Gilbert showed me against South Carolina? He could block. That was the first game on tape that made me go, okay, he can be George Kittle. He could be Travis Kelce if he wants to. That was the first game where I actually saw him block, and not only block, he blocked really well. So, and we'll get to Landon Jackson in a moment, okay? And Ali Highsmith was a linebacker. So, Arik Gilbert at tight end, there is more growing pains. Now that LSU knows that Arik Gilbert can block, guess what happened? Guess who you didn't see on Saturday? You did not see Torrey Carter, right? So, you want to know why you didn't see Torrey Carter? Arik Gilbert was blocking, and he was really good blocking, not only off the edge, but in the LSU offense, you're oftentimes also a lead blocker as a fullback. Go back and watch the very first drive of the game where Arik Gilbert executed what's called a wham block, where the tight end shoots through as the lead blocker. So here's the thing. With the way football's played now, with fullbacks not being on the field, Arik Gilbert has got to block. First 3 games, he wasn't really good at it. Mississippi State, in fact, he was a huge liability. Now that's not the case. Well, he showed it against South Carolina. I hope he can do the same thing against Auburn. But the truth remains the same. You've got to be able to block. And I say that, and I save it for now, because you've got to understand that not all positions are the same. There's learning curves. It's not really a learning curve at corner. Guard the guy in front of you. Defensive end. Get after the quarterback. Keep contained. That's why B.J. Ojulari and Elias Ricks have been more productive. But now that Arik Gilbert has shown he can block, this kid looks unstoppable. Now, that's what really concerns me about safety. So Matthew Lengua commits. That's a good deal. But Ulysses just said this a minute ago. Sage Ryan is athletic enough to start right now, and I agree with that. Now, it is kind of similar to Matthew Lengua's situation, because Sage Ryan does play at a smaller high school in Lafayette, and his main concern is actually, running the football, playing offense. So, the simple truth is this. When Sage Ryan gets to campus, his main focus is going to be defense, and that makes the learning curve a little bit tougher. Something else about Elias Ricks is that when he played at such big high schools, he didn't ever have to play offense. He only played defense. Same thing with Ojulari. You notice the two true freshmen who have been incredible, they played at huge high schools. Marietta is a power. I didn't give her 9-8. So there we go. Now, I say that because, those guys are playing the roles at the high school that they're playing now. For Sage Ryan and Lengua, because they play at smaller schools, it's a little bit of a jump. But for me, Sage Ryan could legit play right now. He's fast enough. So, BJ was actually the left tackle. It's true. Actually, no, you're right about that. Which, makes him that much more of a freak athlete. I mean, BJ Ojulari is just he's truly insane. He's truly insane. And I know I did like a 20-minute discussion about him on our film study a few weeks ago, but it's just ridiculous. The dude just simply is really just blown my mind. And every single game he's done it, he's not had a bad game yet. And it's truly incredible. And he's not the biggest guy. The fact that, he played offensive line, I mean, it's stupid. It is truly stupid that he's this good at football already. And, you saw it against South Carolina. You saw him against Missouri. It's stupid. That's the only way I could describe it. You're not supposed to be this good already. Elias Ricks, I expected him to dominate. Every video I did with him, going all the way back to Chat Sports, I just said repeatedly, Elias Ricks is for real, the real deal. But, I liked Ojulari. I just did not expect him to be one of the best players in the SEC. And quite frankly, he is. Pass rushing defensive end, and Devin makes a good point. What if Xavier Carter is this good? Who is also from Marietta, who's also committed. And Luke, he says Elias Ricks and BJ are the only ones showing out. So I sat down, and what I do to rewatch games, I always look at the little things when I rewatch games. So when you're actually watching the football games, when you're actually watching the games themselves, you're mostly reacting to what is happening, right? So when you're watching a football game, the first thing you notice is what actually happened on the play. You notice a completion or an interception or a timeout, or, you notice just the big things. But after rewatching the South Carolina game, and I'm like, wait, hold on, is that Arik Gilbert blocking? It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And, That's the funny thing is that a lot of these true freshmen for LSU have played really well. Someone mentioned him earlier. Cam Wire's been really good. So it's crazy. Yeah, it's true. All eyes are on Gilbert. They're from the same high school. But God, I mean, I don't know. I mean, and I know the whole Nigerian prince thing with BJ Ojulari. He's a descendant of royalty. Man, the dude looks otherworldly right now. Some of the stuff he's done is just crazy. Like, I've never seen an LSU pass rusher as good as him. Yeah, and that's a funny thing too. Arik Gilbert was a really good defensive end too. His defensive end tape, I thought, was just as impressive as his pass catching tape. And defensive ends do get paid a lot more than tight ends. A lot more. 4 NFL tight ends make $10 million or more a year. 4. If you were to guess how many defensive ends at the NFL make north of $10 million, just give it a guess. Just give it a guess right now in the top of your head. 1, 2, 3. 25 defensive ends make $10 million a year. So I brought this up before the season. Arik Gilbert should go both ways. No, he shouldn't. So I said before the year that Arik Gilbert should also get some reps at defensive end. If LSU is not able to get pass rush on third down, well, they lead the SEC in sacks. They don't need any help there. I know before the year that's what I said, but not now. He needs to focus on what he's doing. But I said as a last resort, give him a chance. But he could. I mean, Arik Gilbert is that much of a freak. Now, a lot of you worried about Sage Ryan going to Alabama. I'm very worried about it too. Yeah, it's true, Devin. That's a good point. So I'm very worried about Sage Ryan in Alabama. Now, why am I worried about it? Well, from the get-go, you look at all the photos he took in Bama gear. And he's also said repeatedly that his recruitment was nowhere close to being over. Okay? Sage Ryan going to Bama would be a huge gut punch. I agree. You don't want to lose recruits to your rival. But I will say this until I can't say it anymore. No one recruit determines your success. Not a single one. Now, a lot of you said Sage needs someone to give him some advice to come to LSU. Well, how many game-changing tight ends are there in the NFL? It just depends on your game-changing. That's a good question. I would say 4. Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, and actually just those 3 as far as game changers. Okay, but Sage Ryan. Kev Falk is his cousin, right? Yeah. We have a viewer. His name's Creole Houstonian. I think his name is Larry. His real name's Larry. Mark Andrews, he's not a game changer. Well, maybe. He's really good, though. Sage Ryan would be a huge loss. Especially considering, hell, just look at our secondary now. They're bad. It's bad. The depth is bad. What if Jordan Tolles doesn't pan out? What if Kari G doesn't pan out? Kari G's a few years away. He's not ready to play right now. Matthew Lengua, he's not ready to play right now. Sage Ryan's the one kid that I'm like, okay, Stick him out there right now. He could be Jamal Adams good right now. Do I think he's Jamal? I'm not sure if he's that good. I mean, Jamal Adams was special, but I think he's really good. And that is a huge position of need. So this is where I'm kind of bending towards, this is one kid LSU desperately needs. Now, I know a lot of you are high on Mason Smith. Mason Smith's a really good player, and LSU has struggled at defensive tackle. But the truth of the matter is still the same. LSU still has Jacoby and Guillory in the wings. Jaquelin Roy's going to get better. Eric Taylor is still out there. LSU at safety is thin, and so far they haven't been good. Sage Ryan is the number one safety. Also, something else that we've not mentioned, Malcolm Green going to Clemson this offseason instead of LSU turns out to be a pretty big deal. So we'll see. We'll see. Now, before we talk about what's for dinner tonight, which, by the way, Brent, it is salad. All right, I'm keeping it simple. I ate chicken wings last night and the night before. I went to a wedding this past weekend. They had steak. It was a bougie wedding in Fayetteville. I was happy to be there. It really was good. My girlfriend had salmon. I got to have half of the salmon. I'll tell you this. A good cut of salmon is as good as a piece of steak any day of the week. Did I get a hot sauce in my eye like that? No, I didn't. What a kid. Andrew Makuba. I think Makuba went to he committed to Clemson, didn't he? Or Texas, either one of those two. I don't know. So anyway. All right. We always do this towards the end. Oh, yeah, the Landon Jackson news. He got injured and he's out for the year. So I don't know what's going to happen to him. I like Landon Jackson. Yeah, Makuba went to Clemson, if that's who you're mentioning. I know J.D. Coffey is committed to Texas, and LSU might pursue him again. I don't know what his situation's like, so we'll see. LSU does have two 2022 safeties committed, Bryce Anderson and the kid from Alito. What's his name? Anyway, he plays at Alito, where JoJo Earl plays. So, there's reinforcements there, but Sage Ryan's a big deal. It's a big deal. Yeah, JoJo Earl is at Alito. But the kid from 2022, and Landon Jackson could commit to Texas. Texas A&M really wanted him. Halloween is Nick Saban's birthday. Let's be honest, okay? Alabama's a good school. They put a lot of people in the NFL. They put a lot of safeties in the NFL. Eddie Jackson, Ronnie Harrison, the list goes on. If he wants to go to Bama, I totally get it. Sage Ryan could go wherever the hell he wants to go. You really respect my analyst. Bryce Allen Jr., thank you. It should be noted that LSU steals top-notch recruits from other states. Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Jake Beck. Okay, yeah, I almost forgot about him. How could you? All right. So this is what I want to know about Jake Beck. He had 400 more receiving yards than Brian Thomas Jr. last year. And Brian Thomas Jr. is the number one rated receiver out of Walker. And I've seen a lot of people cite that stat. A few things. Number one, Jake Beck played with the Division I quarterback in Caleb Holstein. Okay? And Caleb Holstein is currently at Louisiana Tech. Now Jake Beck is playing with He's playing with Walker Howard, who is LSU's big quarterback commit for the class of 2022. So we know that he, out of anyone, has had the best quarterback play out of pretty much anyone you can expect out of high school. He had two, you could say those are the two best quarterbacks in the state of Louisiana over these past few years. He's 6'3". He's got tight end level frame. He's huge. Okay. He's got a thick frame. He reminds me a lot of Devin Duvernay. He played at Texas and he destroyed LSU, and now he's with the Ravens. Just a thick frame on him. 6'3", 212. That is huge. One thing I love about him, he high points the football. And I don't know what his vertical is, but to be able to high point the football in high school is really difficult. Not a lot of guys are good at it because you're able normally just to reach over guys and make plays. So, yeah, it's pretty simple. That dude can just play football. And he's a gamer. Just a few weeks ago, he had 14 catches for 220 yards, and they beat Catholic High out of Baton Rouge, where Clyde and Darius Geis went to, and it was an upset. It was the first time they beat them, I think, in 4 or 5 years. So, Beck's an elite athlete. If I were to rank the Louisiana wide receivers, because this is apparently the greatest Louisiana class ever. Now, I was told that back in 2004, where it was the Speedy Noel, who was in that class? So Speedy Noel, Malachi Dupree, and Trey Quinn. And that's just off the top of my head. I don't remember the other receivers. Oh, you know who else was in that class? Jared Cornelius, who ended up being a very good Razorback wide receiver. He was really good. And Jared Cornelius is a North Louisiana kid. I think he went to Evangel. I'm just going off the top of my head once again. I think it was Evangel. I think so. Anyway, he's now a fireman, believe it or not, but he was a really good player, had a lot of injuries. So it looks as if this is the 2014. This looks to be the class, the best class of wide receivers. So far, LSU has Chris Hilton, JoJo Earl, and the kid out of Deion Smith out of Mississippi, right? If I were to rank the Louisiana receivers, okay, I don't have them pulled up in front of me, my number one would still be Brian Thomas Jr. I do believe that. 6'4", a lot of size. My number two would be Destin Payson. I think he goes by Destin Hill now. He's more than likely going to go to Florida State. Then at number three, I have Jake. I really think he's better than Chris Hilton. But, it's just preference. Chris Hilton is obviously faster. He's probably the fastest receiver in the state. But, pick your poison. I think Chris Hilton's going to be phenomenal. Health is a concern with him. So we'll see. Let's go to Kyle. Any underrated prospects on your radar? So for a while, my underrated guy was Beck. He was committed to Vanderbilt, and reportedly, he has an LSU offer now. That's out into the ether. That was my guy. Now everyone knows about him, so he's not as much under the radar. But if you want to talk Louisiana kids, one guy I like a lot, and he's not flashy, he's not an elite athlete. I love Andrew Jones. I really do think he's a really, really solid football player. Once again, he's not a complete difference maker. I could see him as a Duke Riley, Donnie Alexander type of player, just a solid starter. Not spectacular. But I like him. So let's see. Let me pull up On top football recruits in Louisiana. I know a lot of you like the Hargrove kid out of Ruston. Shout out to James. I don't know. Is James in here? All right, Mike. We'll see you, man. Let's see. I don't know if I saw James in here. He's from Ruston, and he's been telling me about the Hargrove kid. Let's see. Catravian Hargrove out of Ruston. LSU's picking up steam on Jordan Gilbert. LSU is still not offered Jordan Gilbert, even though Jordan Gilbert has an Alabama offer, Mississippi State offer, Oklahoma offer, Texas A&M. Also, another kid who doesn't. I've also been told that Keon Coleman is actually the best receiver in the state of Louisiana. And I saw Shea Dixon say that LSU's picking up some steam. Keon Coleman, Opelousas. I love Opelousas. Shout out Mama's Fried Chicken, the best fried chicken on the freaking planet. Is that Mama's Fried Chicken? I love that place. There's one right off the interstate going towards Baton Rouge. I freaking love that place. Things not looking good for us for Sage Ryan, and it sucks. It does, but it's Bama for you. I'll tell you this. LSU doesn't feel great about the Halloween announcement since that's Nick Saban's birthday. And they also don't feel great simply because of one thing. Well, they're not playing good right now. It was always up in the air when Sage Ryan was going to commit. Now he says Halloween. We'll see. Grad transfer around for safety. Well, ask yourself this question, okay? LSU's had a great grad transfer play quarterback. LSU's had a great grad transfer play tight end. LSU's had a great grad transfer play on the offensive line. LSU's had a great grad transfer at wide receiver. And they have one at linebacker. They've had a few come in, but how many great grad transfer defensive backs are there? Not many. What's the 4-1 on Bama for Sage? What's the issue? I don't know. We'll get back to TJ Finley and Myles Brennan in a minute. Sage Ryan is not a sellout. I will not accept that. Nobody's a freaking sellout at 17 years of age when they're not actually getting compensated. Or at least we don't think they're getting compensated. He's going to pay when we play Bama. Here's the thing. I never get combative over a kid's decision. And I like versus he from India. I like him. I like you personally. If Sage Ryan wants to go to Alabama and he feels as if that gives him the best chance to win, let him go. This is what gets toxic about recruiting. And then, Bama offered him more money. We don't know how much money these guys are given behind the scenes. I really don't care. I don't. Go where you want to go. All right? LSU's going to be fine if any one player decides to go anywhere. The most important player in LSU's history was a transfer from Ohio State. And yes, it is a stab in the back when a kid from Louisiana goes to Alabama. Guess what? Nick Saban has done it since he's been in Alabama. Whether it's Cam Robinson, Tim Williams, the Allen kid out of Southern Lab. Go where you want to go. LSU's going to be fine, okay? I'm dead serious. They're going to be fine. All right? Alabama's always going to out-recruit you. That's just the case. Guess what? Alabama's always out-recruited everybody. There's only 2 other programs that are recruiting on Alabama's top 3 clip right now, and that is Clemson and Ohio State. I don't mind slightly being behind and do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. He's letting his home state down? No, he's not. Go where you want to go. Go where you want to go. Bottom line. And, Shea Dixon wrote a piece about this. I'm going to let you guys in on a little bit of a story, okay? And if you want to know more about me personally, about how, because some of you have asked me questions about how I make the videos, how I do the film studies. I'm going to let you know this right now. There are a ton of videos I edit and produce, but don't actually post. So last Wednesday, I was releasing a post about this very subject, kids going elsewhere. Now, a lot of you ask me, why don't you do more recruiting videos? Recruiting videos do well. The reason why I don't do it is because so much changes, okay? So last week, I was doing a story on 3-star recruits out of the state of Louisiana. Shea Dixon just wrote a piece about it today. I was going to release it last Wednesday. I have it edited. I have it ready to go, ready to post. Well, guess what? The Odell Beckham Jr. story broke, and I decided to do a video about that because it was just more urgent. But the point of the piece is pretty simple, okay? Life is a game of leverage, all right? Sage Ryan has leverage, okay? He can go anywhere he wants to go. He is the best safety recruit in America, all right? Let's say he goes to Alabama, all right? And if he wants to go to Alabama, he can go to Alabama. All the power to you. But you know what happens when a player decides to go elsewhere? That opens up another slot, okay? So what does that open slot normally represent? Well, it normally represents a slot that's going to go to a player that really wants to go to LSU. Well, how do we know that this player really wants to go to LSU? Well, it's simple. For the elite recruits, all the elite schools preserve a set number of slots, okay? LSU right now has about 6 or 7 slots. They have 6 now that Lengua committed. So those 6 slots are for Mason Smith, Corey Foreman, Savion Byrd if he wants to come, Tristan Lee, Sage Ryan, and the final one is still up in the air, okay? So what happens? What does this mean? The slots, what are you talking about? That's the slot, Jesus. So when a recruit decides to go elsewhere, a slot opens up for another kid that wants to come to LSU. Because here's the thing. The other kid that gets that slot is more often than not already committed to another school. In this case, it was Matthew Lengua. Now, imagine if you're Matthew Lengua and you're committed to Kansas State, all right? And Kansas State's a good program. Chris Klieman is a hell of a coach. He's probably a top 5 coach right now in college football. Dead serious. But the truth remains the same. If Matthew Lengua wants to go to Kansas State, all the power to him. But immediately when he was given the LSU roster, you can go on ahead and heat that, baby. It's okay. The Wi-Fi will be fine if you want to heat it. So the truth remains the same. You notice when that slot opened up at LSU for Lengua and they offered him, he took it immediately. So this is what happened. Matthew Lengua says, wow, LSU gifted me that opportunity. LSU is saying they believe in me. So I'm going to give everything I have to LSU to prove them right. That's why you've seen so many 3-star LSU Louisiana players become successful. And it is an unusually high number of players. It's a simple piece of logic, and I'm about to give it to you right now. And I did a whole video on it. I'm happy we're talking about it here. Guess what happens when that 3-star Louisiana kid who knows he's a 3-star, he's rated as a 3-star, gets to stay at home, play for the state university. When you come to Louisiana as a 3-star commit, you come already with the chip on your shoulder. You come in there saying, hey, guess what? I'm representing my community. I'm representing my state. I'm representing my parish. And I'm going to show the world that for the state university, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to go out there and work my tail off to prove Coach Orgeron right. And guess what happens? That chip on your shoulder legit makes you work even harder. So what does that mean? And we're going to get to Devin in a moment. Okay. Well, a 5-star, it's a little bit different because a 5-star recruit has leverage over the universities. They can go wherever they want. They could say, hey, I'm gifting this university with my talent. They should feel happy that I'm coming to that university, which they should. But a lot of 5-stars and high-level 4-stars come in thinking that they know everything. They don't have that same fire under their belt. And it's true. They don't. It's natural. So I'm not saying that Sage Ryan is better than Matthew Lengua or vice versa. We don't know that yet. In fact, I could say pretty comfortably that Sage Ryan is going to be a better safety than Matthew Lengua. Right now, that is an undoubted fact. But there is nothing like being told that you're not good enough. There's nothing like knowing that at first, because guess what? Every Louisiana kid wants the LSU offer. They just do. It's the thing. It's still the thing. It's never been a bigger thing than right now, especially now that LSU has so many out-of-state kids coming in. The offers are few and far between. And 3-star kids oftentimes talk to other 3-star recruits. So when you get that offer, it really does mean something. But legit, go through the history books with LSU football and look at all the 3-star kids that have not only played at an extremely high level, but have gone on to be multiple-year starters in the NFL. Duke Riley and Foster Moreau were both the final kids in the class. Legit, they flipped on signing day. Cushenberry, Jefferson, Clyde, Jacob Hester, Trendon Holiday, Morris freaking Claiborne. Now, Jeray Jenkins, Cam Wire. Debo Jones. I got a full list of it. I'll pull it up right now. I looked at, I know he wasn't Louisiana, but Natchez is basically Louisiana. Natchez, Mississippi is an LSU town, but, Stephen Ridley, Trey Turner. Those guys turn out to be 4- and 5-star level players. But guess what? You know what a lot of those guys have in common? Let me put it this way. Let me reframe it. Okay? Let me put it this way. And I wouldn't quite say good riddance. You can go wherever you want. Okay? You could, some people like to travel. I grew up in Arkansas. I didn't want to go to school at Fayetteville, even though all my best friends went to Fayetteville. All of my best friends in high school wanted to go to Fayetteville. I wanted to go to LSU because that's where I'm from. But I didn't want to go where everyone else was going. Some people want to go. Some people want to travel. They have their reasons. I'm all for freedom of choice. Do whatever you want. Okay? But yeah, Mo Claiborne was a 3-star. But the thing is, when a 3-star kid from Louisiana says he's going to LSU and he gets that last-second offer, that lets you know to him that's the pinnacle. That is the best place for him to go. Everyone say hi to Hey. Everyone say hi. Hey. But this happens. And I was told this by a 4-star. He was a high-level 4-star who didn't pan out. And I wasn't going to tell this story tonight. But you are. Well, you wanted to go to Howard, King Ulysses? My whole family went to Howard. Yeah, Cliff's my family, but he went to Howard. My whole family went to Howard. Dead serious. Some went to Southern. Some went to Stanford, but most of them went to Howard. My family's like really smart, and I'm not. But anyway, this is just a simple truth, okay? So, a 4-star, and I won't say his name, and I became friends. We lived in the same apartment complex, and it's called Western Campus Apartments. Odell mentioned this not too long ago, WCA, and WCA is our campus. And I was sitting there, and I was talking to this guy, and, we're just legit just sitting. We weren't drinking. We were just talking. And he could have gone anywhere. He could have gone to Alabama, could have gone to Auburn. He wasn't from Louisiana. Part of the problem for him and why he didn't pan out is because he told me this. He thought he made the wrong decision. Okay? He thought he should have gone to another SEC school. And he said Auburn. He said that's where he felt. He decided to go to LSU, and he didn't turn out to be a good player. He ended up transferring to a non-Power 5 school, and he didn't turn out to be good. Okay? So this is what happened to him. When he got to campus and things didn't go right at first, he began to have self-doubt about if LSU is the right school to go to. And this is just, and think about this. If you're a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid, what's up, DBU7? I want you to put yourself in that kid's perspective. If you're a 4 or 5-star and you could have gone to Ohio State, you could have gone anywhere you wanted to, and you have all these offers, one thing that always happens, you begin to doubt if you make the right decision. But the exact opposite is true when you are a 3-star Louisiana kid, or when you're a 3-star recruit. You don't feel that because LSU was always number 1 on your list, and you're going to do whatever it takes to make it work at LSU. So when you hear about the guys at LSU that oftentimes have the best work ethics, it's oftentimes those guys. Now, there's some people that are elite recruits that have a great work ethic. For instance, Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase had a ridiculously great work ethic. He could have gone anywhere. He was supposed to go to TCU, and then he was supposed to go to Florida. Ended up at LSU because Florida fired their coach. Jamar Chase would have been a Florida Gator if Jim McElwain never got fired. It's just a simple truth. So it happens all the time. So when a 4 or 5-star decides to not go to your school, oftentimes that slot is filled with a 4 or a 3-star who wants to be there, who has a chip on his shoulder, who wants to prove the coaching staff right as to why they gave him an offer. You wanted to attend LSU, but you ended up the Culinary Institute of America. I remember Leandra, my girlfriend, like this. Leandra, you were cooking some Korean stuff last time we did a live stream. Sage Ryan is different. He grew up with LSU. He should at least give LSU a chance to transfer. But see, it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. You should always go with where your heart wants you to go. Because the bottom line, and this is how I've always felt, all right? I only want to be around people who want to be here, okay? If any of you are watching this simply because you feel like you have to, if you right now are watching this and you think you should be spending your time with your family, that's what I want you to do. I don't want you to, I'm happy you're watching this. I'm not telling you to go away, but I always want people to be fully invested in what they do. You can always tell. And when you do stand up, and I've done stand up for 4.5 years now, you can always tell people that want to be on the stage, people that want to be there, people that want to perform. I hate it when I'm watching a comedian that's just going through the motions. It pisses me off. Same thing in sports. If you don't want to be there, get the hell out. Don't be a shell of yourself. If you don't like the job you're at, go to a different job. Now, if you have to say because of your family and health insurance and whatnot, all the power to you. Do the job. Then work your ass off when you're not at work. Start your own business and then go live your dreams. If you're a Louisiana kid and your heart tells you to go to Bama, then you're not a Louisiana kid. See, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't, because LSU's not for everybody. Bama is different. And I will say this. I have spent a lot of time on Tuscaloosa's campus. Tuscaloosa's campus is gorgeous. All these college campuses are gorgeous. The funnest night of partying I've ever had was in Athens, Georgia. It's an incredible college city. Georgia's freaking incredible. Heck, here's what I would say to Cliff. Is that, let's say Major Burns. Major Burns, good example. He wanted to come to LSU. LSU kind of said, hey, we don't really need you anymore. He gets to go to Georgia. Does that make him any less of a Louisiana kid? No. His heart was with LSU. So, some people don't vibe with certain programs. You just don't. Devonta Smith lost to LSU. Imagine how he felt. He probably felt just fine. Heck, the kid caught a national championship winning touchdown as a freshman. He's been incredible at Alabama. I think it's worked out well for him. Sadron is similar to this. Your parents raise you, and then when they get told you won't provide for them because you don't. No. Remember this. Is LSU Louisiana? Yeah, it is. So those two things coincide. LSU is the only school in the state. But that doesn't make you any less of a Louisiana. I will never be this way. I will never, ever. And you can look at my career. Never will you see me chastise a kid for where he wants to go. I don't care. If Sidrine wants to go to Alabama or if he wants to go to Clemson, let him go. The more you dwell on it, the more it affects you. Imagine if LSU just gave up when Patrick Surtain decided to go to Alabama. What's the point? Then they would have never gotten Derek Stingley. That's a good point, Mick. Joe McKnight went to USC. And guess what? Joe McKnight was incredible at USC. Played in the NFL. What happened to him was tragic. I love Joe McKnight. I wish he would have been an LSU Tiger, but, to each their own. Do what you want to do. I'm all about doing what you want to do. I'm wearing a Pelicans shirt. Stan Van Gundy. So guess what? And this is true, okay? Anthony Davis hurt me last year. He hurt me. But when I look back on it, I actually kind of liked his honesty. He legit just told the Pelicans, hey, I don't like you guys anymore. I'm ready to freaking go. I thought it was crappy. I'm still pissed off about it. But so be it. Move on. Pelicans move on. Life moves on. It's how it is. I'm not the only LSU YouTube channel. There's a lot of people doing what I'm doing. I'm happy you're here, but if your heart says that you want to watch something else, go watch whatever you want to watch. I really do believe that. That's why I do content the way that I do it, because I don't like it when I see other people doing things that they don't like to do, but they feel as if they have to do it because, that's what everyone else does. Exactly. Ed Reed, Marshall Faulk, hell, Reggie Wayne. What was the kid who went to Ole Miss and just always destroyed us, and he was from New Orleans? Wallace? I don't remember his name. What's up, Jermaine? About time you joined us. I forgot about the super chat. I thought we'd get some more super chats. Heck, I'm just chilling here. I've gotten, I think, 3 super chats. That's good. The other night we had about like 12 or 13. Not Bo Wallace. It was a wide receiver who went to Ole Miss and he always destroyed. I could just be making something up. I don't know. Okay, Dak Prescott's recruitment's always going to be weird. Different people have different stories about that. LSU offered him, but Dan Mullen offered him first. And let's be honest, Dan Mullen's record with quarterbacks is way better than LSU's record with quarterbacks. So, exactly, Willie. You win some, you lose some. You're not going to get every kid. Heck, the kid that almost had a pick 6 against LSU, Isaac Mukamu, heck of a football player. He was all SEC last year. Went to the same high school as Terrace Marshall Jr. They were teammates. LSU missed him. Joe Fuchsia, Arkansas safety. LSU missed him. You can't get them all. Mike Wallace. Okay. I was wondering if I was making something. Mike Wallace was his name. Didn't he play for the Steelers or I don't remember. Mike Wallace destroyed it. I mean, just killed us. But, then you have guys like our homie right here. Come on. The guy who shut down. You got Patrick Peterson. It's from Florida. 5-star. You notice no one really talked about, everyone's talking about DK Metcalf and that crazy chase down of Buda Baker. No one talks about how Patrick Peterson completely shut down DK Metcalf. I mean, put the clamps on him. Now, our boy Tyler Lockett went ham, and I'm surprised that you mentioned that. So, Patrick Peterson shut down DK Metcalf, the same Patrick Peterson who went to LSU. But Drake Kirkpatrick from Alabama was burnt toast. Leonard Fournette stayed. Well, I wish more people knew about his recruitment. LSU went all in on Leonard Fournette, way more than any other recruit ever at LSU, taking no running backs in the class before. So you want to know a cool story? And I have it on one of my old YouTube channels. I interviewed Patrick Peterson a long time ago. And Patrick Peterson was my closest friend that was an elite LSU player. He's my Twitter profile pic. I don't have his number. I haven't talked to him in years. Patrick Peterson is just different. He's different mentally than any other athlete I've ever spoken to that's a defensive back. And, Tyrann Mathieu, unbelievable. But I don't know if Tyrann Mathieu is Tyrann Mathieu without Patrick Peterson. Not only at the NFL, but at the college level too. Because Patrick Peterson was the one who vouched for Tyrann Mathieu for the Cardinals. It's ridiculous. I interviewed Patrick Peterson, and, the dude is just so freaking fearless. And, he should be fearless. He's a freak of nature. Yeah, the Russell Wilson interception. Also, I got a cool Russell Wilson story. I'll share it one day. Remind me, Jesse, to share it some other time. Let's see. What's up, Mark? Welcome back. We got a few Marks. What makes him different? So here's what makes him different. Okay, so Landon, Collins, Travis Etienne, exactly. Go where you want to go. There's no guarantees that Etienne would have been the same player at LSU than he was at Clemson. You just don't know that. There's so much that happens. So here's what made Patrick Peterson different. So I interviewed him before the year, and so many players are like, we're going to take it one game at a time. Da, da, da. But the truth is, a lot of the elite players like to go up against the other elite players. So before the season, I asked Patrick Peterson point blank, forget all these other games. Just admit it, you want to go up against Julio Jones again. And he just said, yeah. He says he thinks about it all the time. He said, the other games are important to him, but he says he thinks about going up against the best all the time. And he says he always wants to go up against the best. And I know a lot of people say that, but I don't think a lot of people truly mean it. And he's always truly meant it. And I respect the hell out of him for it. I really do. I would love to talk to him again. I'd love to have him on this show. Because I'm just, Earl says he's forever grateful to Leonard Fournette. I'm forever grateful to Patrick Peterson. The dude played elite for 3 years. Now, really think about this, okay? How many players were elite for 3 years? I mean, true forces of nature for 3 seasons. Really, nobody at LSU. I mean, it's rare. It's rare to have someone that was an elite producer for 3 years. I only hanged out with the female track team when I was at LSU. What's up, Max? When were you at LSU, King Ulysses? I have no idea. Were we at school at the same time? Let's see. Eric Reed was pretty elite. Yeah, he was. Eric Reed was really good. No debate, trust Coach O. Hell yeah, trust Coach O. I still trust him. I don't know why you wouldn't. But anyway, I got to sign off. I've went way too long. My girlfriend's already mad at me. So let's 99 to 06, 7 year. Let's go. Because he big Popolini? Yeah. All right, score predictions. Does anyone watching this actually believe Auburn's going to beat LSU? Girlfriends. I only have one. For now. Kidding. I only have one. I'm telling you, it takes a lot to date someone like me. I'm a mess. Mizzou is beating Georgia. I keep hearing that. Official Friday with the Heat. LSU over Auburn, 45 to 24, 54 to Antonio. Welcome, Antonio. Where you watching from, Antonio? I want to know. I haven't heard. Auburn taking an L this weekend. They deserve it. Auburn does not look good. Auburn is 3-2. They should be 1-4. The Ole Miss game was ridiculous. The Arkansas game was robbery. Orlando. I went to that Lamar Jackson game in Orlando. That was one of the funnest games ever. Ate way too much Buffalo Wild Wings, though. Who does Bama play this weekend? I don't know off the top of my head. My brain just went blank. Not with Bo quarterbacking? Bo Pelini doesn't play quarterback. Oh, Bama plays Mississippi State. Ugh. They're 31-point favorites. I think that number's too big. Let's see. Y'all see Kylan Hill just say peace to Mississippi State? That's wild. That is wild. Your name is Dorian and you're at LSU right now? That's cool, man. You live on campus? He opted up after one game. Wouldn't you as well? Mississippi State's a mess. Go Gators. What's up, Alan? I love how different fans come into this broadcast. We have that one Bama troll who comes in all the time. Does it make you more of a Florida fan to drop a Go Gators into an LSU stream? It does. Can't wait for the Florida LSU game. Well, Alan, make sure you come back to the channel. Where you watching from, Alan? Tristan the Bama troll. Gotta love Tristan. Oh, so Alan, you're in Gainesville. That is wild. LSU will beat Florida. The Joe Namath guarantee. I'm trying to decide if there's an SEC game I like. Florida's a mess right now. You're right, Antonio. Charles Barkley guarantee. That's not a good one. Anyone see that College Game Day is going to be at Augusta National the weekend of the Bama game? That's really freaking cool. If Tiger Woods is not the guest picker, I'm going to be very angry about that. Alan's not wrong about that, by the way, guys. All right, before we sign off here, that's true, Joel. All right. Can a QB controversy divide a locker room? Yes, absolutely. Is Terry Wilson really that bad for Kentucky? I kept being told that he was going to be great. When will a starter be named? I don't know. Probably Thursday. They'll probably do the same thing. We are returning or starting DT this week. Ooh. Yeah, it could. That's why I think TJ Finley should be the starter against Auburn, because that'll give you a better idea if it's just a fluke. Now, even if Myles Brennan goes out and plays well, if LSU loses with Myles Brennan at quarterback, the locker room's going to be like, wait, why didn't we just start the guy that actually won us a game? So I think you have to start TJ Finley on Saturday. I really do. So before we get out of here, I'd never like to just log off with a lot of you on here simply because you guys are making me a part of your evening. Ask me any question you want answered. It can be anything LSU football related. It could be my favorite LSU kicker ever. It could be, what do I think about Jaquelin Roy? Yeah, I can't wait for Saturday. Don't forget, Saturday night after the game, the live stream will be popping. Hopefully our super chat will be popping. There's a $sign right there. Or if you don't want to do the super chat, you can always hit me up on Venmo or Cash App at Card of the Power. So if you want to just hit me, you can still super chat me right now, but if you want to ask me any question, take away the national championship years team. What was your favorite LSU team ever? The 2011 team, easily. No doubt about it. I love that team. I had friends on that team, and the 2011 team is the second greatest LSU team of all time. They're better than the 07 team. They're better than the 03 team. 2011. Is Myles Brennan the starter next year? Ooh, that's a good question. Let's go yes. Why don't you mention Andrew Whitworth or Kevin Minter in the last video? What were you what are you referencing, Tremaine? I like both of those guys a lot, actually. I voted for Trump. This will not be a politics thing other than me saying you should go vote. But no, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. Sorry. But I'm not going to make this a political channel. You can have your own political beliefs. Let's see. Nuss went to my high school, and he is not good. Garrett Nussmeier is not good. I don't know. I mean, he looks okay to me. Yeah, do what you want. Thanks, DRC. I appreciate you, man. You've been supporting me for quite some time. I really do appreciate it. Let's see. Florida or Georgia? What are you referencing? That's the thing. Nussmeier's currently playing at an elite level. And I just think it's too early. Walker Howard looks incredible, but I still think it's too early to say if a kid is going to be good or not. Should Brennan get all the way healthy before Bama? Yes. So that's why partially I believe LSU should start TJ Finley, because it allows Myles Brennan to get fully healthy, and we get a look at what TJ Finley is actually going to look like. Who wins the SEC East? I'm going to go with Georgia. Nuss is going to make us better? Absolutely. Even if he doesn't become the starter, he makes the quarterback room more talented. And he's the son of a coach. What was worse, the Florida goal line stand or easily the goal line stand. The pick six, the game was still in question, but when Darius Geis ran the wrong way, yeah, that game really sucked. Especially considering Florida had one long touchdown pass in that game, and that was about it. Statistically based on passer rating, yes, Myles should just declare for the NFL draft after this year. Maybe. I don't know if he should declare now. He's no better than the fourth best quarterback. You have the kid from North Dakota State. You got Trevor Lawrence. You got Justin Fields. The kid from BYU looks freaking incredible right now. Let's see. Guardian Angel says LSU 49, Auburn 21. Prediction for Auburn. What's up, Dustin? Let's see. I say my prediction for the prediction video that I'm going to do Friday. So that's called a hook. I'll give you my score prediction then. If he doesn't, you have a locker room with 4 to 5 QBs, and that's a lot. Yeah. Not all quarterbacks can play. Hell, Lowell Narcisse is a really good college quarterback. Joe Burrow transferred. He decided to transfer. So, not Not all great quarterbacks get to play. Heck, what's his name? Started at Tulane last year. Turned out he was a pretty good Division I quarterback. Justin McMillan. So not every quarterback gets to play, which is why I believe we should have preseason and or 7-on-7 so we can actually see who the best quarterback is. Good question, Mark. Should Jarrett Lee have started the 2011 championship game? He shouldn't have started. He should have played. Starting is a strong word because Justin Jefferson's ability to run was the difference in that LSU versus Alabama game, because Alabama, ironically, LSU's problem could not keep contained. So, yeah, Jarrett Lee should have played once Justin Jefferson continued to be horrible. But he should have played. Does LSU have any quarterbacks transfer out at the end of the season? It's kind of tough to say. If there would be one that transfers, it would be Max Johnson. I just don't see him transferring after a year, especially knowing that this year of eligibility won't be held against you. And if it's not held against you, you still have your 4-game and under redshirt rule. Who's to say that Max Johnson doesn't win the job this offseason? It's very, very much in the mix. All right, Alan, we'll see you. We got you the first time, Alan. See you, bud. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. Last call for questions here. Once again, last call for questions. Thank goodness Peter Pears transferred. Why do you say that? TJ Finley could have easily beaten him out if he would have stayed, Lowell just actually had a serious injury. He's at UTSA. Chicken parm or shrimp scampi? Chicken parm is more consistently good. Shrimp scampi might have a higher upside. I'm going to go chicken parm. Are there any players eligible for the draft that you think will benefit from coming back? Maybe Jacoby Stevens. Maybe so. I don't know. It's a good question. But anyway, it was good. Guys, thank you so much. If you want to donate to this show, baby, I'll go get her. I'm signing off right now. Okay. I need the flashlight. Hand me the flashlight. Okay. I do have to go. Yusha or DBU7? Really? You got to make me choose between those two? I'm going to say DBU7 because he's here right now. Well, I don't think he's here. Well, I'm going to go Yusha then. Can we use Ishmael Softshore right now or next year? That's a good question. What if he comes back to LSU and turns out to be good? I don't know. Anyway, guys, once again, you can donate to the show at Carter the Power on Venmo or Cash App, or you can hit the Super Chat. You can also hit me up directly at Carter the Power. That is on Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. I'm at Carter the Power on every social media. Softshore just transferred. We don't know what's up. He's in the portal. All right, guys. We will talk to you soon. And go Tigers. Live stream after the game on Saturday.